Go. Okay, well, welcome to this lottery funded sounding off event. Welcome to the Coventry Music Museum, and welcome, wait for it, Taz Singh! Welcome, sir. Great to have you here. Hiya guys, grab a seat or whatever. If you can find a seat, we might need some book. Right, we always start with a broad question. How did you get into music in the first place?
Well, put it this way, I was always into music from a very early age. When I was 6, 7. It's all because at home. I mean, the first thing is I will say we weren't allowed. I mean, you know, my parents bring us up. We weren't allowed to really speak in English at home, and we weren't allowed to listen to English music at home. So we were very cultured. You know, we brought upon Punjabi folk music. You know, so it was, you know, that sort of had a big influence. But obviously, when I started going to school, I was picking up on different music, picking up on reggae, picking up on ska, picking up on all different kinds of music. So to me, that was like, well, there's no opener. So all that kind of came into the melting pot, so to speak, when I started sort of getting into the creative process of trying to write songs and stuff like that. And as you know, no doubt, never will come up in the questions later on, but. Yeah, I mean, it's all down to the upbringing, down to how we were brought up.
Right, hang on a second. We've still got a DVD going on here. You can hear it so clearly. But that's the thing, when it's...
I feel like I'm in a super jury.
Yeah, it's all right.
Not guilty.
Sorry about
Not guilty.
That's it. That's what we want. Silence. Not too much silence. Hey, sir. Do we need any more seats?
Hey, we'll say that, mate. Probably, mate.
Thank you very much. Right, next bit. Sorry about that. So, early influences.
Well, early influences were like the likes of Punjabi folk singers, you know, like Kuldeep Manak. I mean, you guys probably won't know the names, like Gurdas Mann, Kuldeep Manak, Jagmohan Kaur. A lot of, you know, Muhammad Rafi Saab. A lot of the sort of Bollywood influences as well. And then, really, the whole thing really came together for me with listening to a lot of reggae, Bob Marley, you know, and a lot of Studio One records from Jamaica, and then predominantly Motown, to be honest with you. It was, you know, your Jackson 5, and you know, your Stevie Wonder, you know, all your James Brown, and you know, people like that, and a lot of the funk stuff, you know, we're talking about Funkadelic, Brass Construction.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
We're talking about,
good man,
you know, a hell of a lot of the Motown stuff, the Temptation, the Supreme. It all came together like that, you know. A lot of the Motown stuff. My whole thing really was, because I jacked in my degree to do music. I was doing industrial design. Typical thing the parents want you to do.
Yeah, but that went down well.
No, it didn't. Yeah, well, it didn't go too well because my dad didn't speak to me for about 5 years. We had a lot of tension, a lot of friction. But I was a firm believer that if I wanted to do music, I wanted to do something. I want to create something that nobody else has done. So to me, you know, it was about playing with fusion, playing with languages, and music is a universal language. You know, you don't have to understand it linguistically to like it. You know, I listen to African music, to, you know, lots of Moroccan music, Turkish music, Arabic music. So to me, it was all about, you know, putting those things together, you know, bringing it all together. So that was my primary motive, you know, as a musician, as an artist, as a composer, as a songwriter.
So that actually came in your head that you wanted to do that, because obviously it's been noted that you're one of the guys that created this fusion music.
Yeah.
So what kind of age were you when you started thinking about this? I mean, it seems quite obvious to us now that somebody's going to come along from the Asian continent, or you know, and it's going to be putting different brands of music and mashing them together.
Yeah.
It seems quite obvious now, but nobody had done it until you came along and decided you wanted to do it. So what kind of age was that dream in your head from?
For me, it was, I guess it was at the age of about 15, turning 16. It was the time when I really had to make some conscious decisions about my education, how much conviction I had in the way I felt about music, and where I wanted to take it and how I wanted to take it. So there was a long period of time in those days, you know, from the age of say 11 to about 16, where it was a lot to do with experimentation and how do you actually bring something together. Because obviously, you know, sometimes you can bring things together which sound like crap, you know, let's say, and they don't work out.
Yeah,
but
things won't
it's how you fuse things and how you blend things together. But again, coming back to it, it was a lot of work and a lot of, you know, experimentation in the studio. Some things you throw out in the bin, some things you say, oh, that works, so does that work? So it was, you know, at that sort of age, about 15, 16, when I kind of made a conscious decision. And then obviously you got, I went on to sixth form with my A-levels, and then, you know, things went a bit downhill from the education side, but because of my urge and need and want, and, you know, that sort of passion about music, it just got stronger and stronger and stronger, and I kind of felt, well, yeah, I think I did 6 months in my degree. I think that's what I kept in it. But yeah, it kind of went on to that.
Right. Okay. So, what was your real first musical adventure when it was all very serious and you were?
I think
you knew this was.
I'm going to bring Neville into this because there's Neville, there's Charlie Anderson, Neville Staples. I mean, I must admit, I mean, it was Neville and Charlie that actually discovered me, for want of a word. I mean, we owned a builder's yard in Avon Street, so I used to work with my dad's place, you know, in the family business. And I used to have a tendency, when nobody's around, to just sing along to the radio. I mean, sing my heart out, you know, sort of practice once a word, because I didn't have anywhere else to practice. It was just like, when nobody's looking, that's when. And they came in, they popped their head through the door, and I was blushing because they caught me out, you know, I was in full flow. And then they took me to the studio. Never said, you know, I think you've got a great voice, what do you do? And I said, well, this is our business, our family business, and this is what I do, you know, I want to do something. And they took me into this Planet Studios, well, who wasn't Planet then, even Tom Lowry from Planet Studios was working from home. And then we made our first album, started in 1998. And courtesy of obviously, and then Amos Anderson, Glasshouse Music, all that was, you know, part of the sort of family that sort of.
Was this Hit the Deck?
Yeah, this was Hit the Deck, the first album that I released was Hit the Deck. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the influence of Nev, because obviously you're still good mates.
Oh, but yeah. A total mentor, wanted the word. He taught me the right things to do, the things not to do. I mean, I will say, I mean, I remember we finished Hit the Deck, recording Hit the Deck, and I was absolutely petrified of putting it out, and nobody could get it, because they were saying, well, you know, it's a great record, what's wrong with you? You know, why do you feel like this? And I said, well, I think nobody's going to get it, right, that's a fact, in my mind at the time. And then I thought the second thing was, you know, I'll be accused by the hardcore folksters of Punjabi music that I've bastardised music, which I did in the end. It was, you know, that they didn't like some of, you know, you got different.
So bastardised, but I mean, folk music, you know, going right back. That's what it has influences. That's what folk music is about. As it goes on,
that's right.
It changes.
Yeah.
So I don't think that word even applies, but I know what you mean. People would think that. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, as far as Nev is concerned, I mean, you know, he was a person that took my hand and, you know, helped me get understand the business, because, you know, I mean, Hit the Deck was literally an overnight success. So before you knew it, I was playing to audiences of 4,500 screaming girls and, you know, crazy fans, and quite a frightening thought, to be honest with you, because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how, you know what I mean? I mean, you dream about these things. You want to be popular. You want people to like your music, but you don't know how it's going to hit you when you're actually there, you know, on the spot. And
of course that was 36 weeks in the charts.
Yeah.
36 weeks in the charts, that album. Think about
that. That's amazing.
You know, I mean, we're going to come on to this.
Number one of 36 weeks. I mean, you know, I didn't really know that. I didn't even think it would last a day, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, we've talked about this before, about Coventry's perception of Taz and how Coventry's generally let you down. The fact that you've shed loads of albums worldwide, and people in Coventry, a lot of people probably never even heard of it.
Well, I mean,
it's just a disgrace. And you know, how do you feel about that? I know it's a thing that sort of grates a little bit? Because you love this city, don't you?
I'm born and bred here. It's my city, it's my hometown, it's my people. I love. You know, I'm very proud of putting Coventry on the map. I've sold millions and millions of albums across the world over a period of what now, 20